Good morning, good morning, good
Hello,
morning. It is the day after the 2026 federal budget has been
last
announced.
night.
And I never thought that we'd be sitting here doing a budget recap, but it's very much not that. But I think what we really got from the budget
Everyone
was
is talking about external, everything else is the problem, not us. It's
Yeah.
the war in Iran, it's the cost of living, the interest rates, it's the
Mm.
housing. There was no ownership and accountability. Every time we're like, oh, we couldn't make the budget work, they're like, it's because of the war in Iran.
It was incredibly frustrating, and I really think that picking on the external factor was
The easy
the easy play.
the
Absolutely.
scapegoating. There's so much scapegoating.
So much
That
of
was the
it.
word that came to mind for me.
But here's the question that nobody's asking, that I think is really important. Why were you waiting for this budget to save you in the first place?
The government isn't going to save you, but honestly, it's not their job either. Like, it's you that has to take ownership for your financial future, and accountability for that is on you.
Absolutely. So today we're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about policy. We're going to talk about the one thing that actually changes your financial future and your, I think, future for your mindset, future for your whole life vision.
Regardless of whatever the budget affects for you or doesn't affect for you, this is a bigger, more important message to talk about.
Totally. Because the government will not save you. And to be honest, it's really not their job to come and save you at all. It's your job. It's your job to make sure that you are taking the right steps and the right actions daily in your life to set yourself up for the future, regardless of the policy, regardless of the taxation environment. So I think about, when was it? It was when I was 17, 18, and I was laying there in the Toowoomba hospital, staring up at the ceiling. And I just suffered from my second hospitalized panic attack. And at that point, it really felt like everything else was the problem. Everything else was the cause. And this was the effect, was that I was sitting there hyperventilating in a hospital bed. It was the circumstances, it was the people around me, it was anything else that I could lay legitimate blame to. And they were real things, and the stress was real, but it meant that I was sitting there staring at the ceiling in a hospital bed, not knowing what the future of my life held beyond this point. And it was there that I had to sit there, and it was like a rounded light. If you've seen the lights in a hospital, they're fluorescent lights, and they've got almost like a mirror finish in behind the lights to make the lighting less harsh. And I'm sitting there and I can see my reflection in the mirrored light fitting. And I could see myself, and I told myself, that's not me. That's not my future, and this isn't who I am. And it was really the line in the sand moment that I had to make a change. And I did make a change, and we're going to go into a little bit more about that. But it was my mindset, and it was how I dealt with pressure. It wasn't anything to do with the people around me or the circumstances that I created for my life. It was about how I was actually dealing with it, or how I had probably avoided dealing with it. And
That's good.
I think for me in my life, that was the clearest example of what blaming external factors actually costs you. And it keeps you stuck in the exact situation that you're in unless you're prepared to make a change. And the government pointing at Iran last night in the budget, in the intro that was way too long and provided no real confidence or optimism.
Apparently the word uncertainty is mentioned many, many times in the budget.
It's wild.
That's what you want from your leaders in your country, right?
Totally not, right? I think the government pointing at Iran is the same mechanism. And is it wrong that external forces create pressure? No, but using them as a reason that you can't move forward, that's a trap. It's like a bear trap, and it just closes on you really quickly, and it can change the outcome of your life totally. So it was at that moment that I really saw that reflection, said, this is not because of the people around me and the circumstances that are in my life that I'm here. It's because of me, and it's up to me to get myself out of here as well.
And that is empowering.
Totally.
That is super empowering.
Totally.
For me, I find it's like a daily discipline. It's like something every day I have to check myself on. That you could so easily blame external factors, like very quickly in the minute second. Like when there is a problem in my gym, I run a gym business, and if there is a problem, whether it's culture or finances, whatever the problem that people bring to me, it's so easy to like point the finger and be like, it's that person, or they didn't do their job, or but at the end of the day, who trained them? Who hired them? Who started the business? Who set the culture from day one? So like whatever problem, it's so easy, that instant in your life to blame, but then you realize, oh, who's the common factor in all of this? Who is the other common denominator in everything? Oh, it's me. And then, but that is really harsh. That extreme accountability is something I have learned, but every single day still need to remind myself about, because I never want to end up in a disempowering situation where I can't feel like I can control the narrative or the story of my own life. It's like, what's the tape playing in your head and the self-talk that you're telling yourself every day about the circumstance?
Totally.
We can blame, we can take ownership.
Exactly. And I think from that point forward, when I was in the hospital bed, and I think you can attest to this as well, Nicole, is that decision that we made to invest in ourselves, to invest in personal and professional development. And it was those decisions that we've made along the way. And they've been big calls, they've been big monetary calls, they've been massive
but
investments.
Not always.
Not
I
always.
think some people can just start listening on YouTube to Tony Robbins, and that's where I first started, was Tony Robbins CDs with a little workbook, and I went through the CDs, writing in all the questions, and I was like 17 or 18 is when I started my personal development journey. No one else my age was doing that. And I was the person that was setting goals and working on my business when everyone else was out partying. And then, you know, we went to more events, more workshops. We've done very expensive masterminds and coaching as well. But it doesn't have to be expensive at the beginning.
No.
But the issue is that people don't have a habit around the consistency of how often you're listening to podcasts or audio books.
Correct.
It needs to be a daily practice of shaping that mindset skill.
Absolutely. And I think if we look at that budget last night, and the government are coming out, you know, saying it's our responsibility to give first home buyers a chance into the market. And yes, there are pressures that are facing them, more so than when we were younger and started to get into property investment or just investment in general. But again, if you are waiting for the government to save you, they're not going to save you. The mechanisms that they've put in place really probably aren't going to make that much of a tangible difference immediately to get you into the market.
That's right. So they're saying 75,000 homes over the next 10 years for first homeowners. This will help. Like, that's a really small percentage of the population still.
Yeah,
like that
it's
may
less
not
than
be
1%.
you.
It's less than 1% of the population.
Way less than 1%. And so again, do you have time to wait for the next hopeful policy change that may or may not make it easier for you to buy a house or invest in the shares, or are you just going to start anyway? Exactly.
And it's a decision that you have to make for yourself, that you are capable of getting into the market regardless of the headwinds, regardless of the external forces and the external factors, regardless of policy changes, regardless of what the government says you can and can't do, and how they're going to tax that.
That's right. And it's whether you believe you can or you can't that you're right.
Yeah.
So if you are saying, I can't get into the market because of cost of living or interest rates or how much the price of houses have gone up versus my wage, and whatever excuse you put in there, you believe you can't, so you will not. But then a person who believes they can have a different conversation. They're like, I'm going to meet with my mortgage broker. I'm going to figure out how much savings I need. Maybe I'll start in the share market first, build up over time. This is my strategy and my plan, because you believe you can.
Exactly. And that commitment to invest, to grow, to build wealth, so that you're not going to be dependent on the government later in life via way of a pension or a government scheme or someone else controlling your destiny and your future, is a really important one. And you're better off making it sooner rather than later.
I think that's something, when I started this journey of personal development, that I realized pretty soon, that I was like, I don't just want to wait till I'm 68 to access my pension. I would rather enjoy my life a whole lot earlier and work really hard, but enjoy it along the way, not just wait till I'm 68 to live on the pension.
Totally. And the pension is not going to fund the life that you want at that stage in life. It's a bare minimum needs met basis. So, the budget, the next policy, it's not going to change the trajectory of your life, and it's not going to set you up for success necessarily. I really, truly believe that. And people that were hanging on to this federal budget last night to have the massive changes to get investors out of the market and open up housing affordability. It's the reality of it is this is a massive system, and even with the changes that were made, they are going to be tangible, but they are not going to make that much of a difference to people's lives if they're not prepared to do the work.
That's right. That's right.
So I think Iran being blamed, the cost of living, that's real. That has gone up. The pressure is very real, but none of that changes today. There's still a war in Iran. The cost of living pressures are still the same. The price of a loaf of bread and a dozen eggs have not gone down today because of what was announced last night. And it's up to you as to what you do.
But even if it wasn't the war in Iran, the government would have came up with something else to blame that's not them. The reason why we're in a $30 billion deficit and why everyone is struggling is it's not us. It's not that we haven't done good planning over the last 10 years.
Exactly.
They blame the other party or who was in power before them. It's never them.
Yeah, and you've got to think they're doing this budget on a 4-year timeline.
Just to get re-elected.
They projected out 10 years, but realistically, it's a 4-year election cycle timeline.
They're not
basing these policies upon, which is really it's a shame because I genuinely feel that it's not in the best interest of our country. So, long story short, the government is not going to save you.
Yeah.
Not because the government is broken or the wrong party is in, but because your life was actually never theirs to save. And I really think that real freedom is built. It's not claimed. It's not, you don't get it as a windfall.
Yeah.
You don't get it as the result of a great federal budget.
You have to go out and earn it every single day.
Exactly. So if this video landed with you, if you are interested in learning more about what it actually looks like to set up your future now without having to wait for favorable government policy, we would love for you to subscribe to the channel. We'd love for you to send us an Instagram DM. We would love to extend this conversation to you because we think it's really, really important, and more young, ambitious people need to catch this. I think one of the lines that they kept saying last night in the budget was, "We are an ambitious government. We are ambitious." And I sort of looked at it. I'm like, "Are you trying to convince us, the people, or are you trying to convince yourselves of that?" It was a real sort of an oxymoron, really. But it's an interesting time.
That's for sure.
So thanks for taking the time.
We'd love to hear your thoughts about the federal budget. Have a great Wednesday. See ya.